Yeah. So, fucking bored out of my mind, so I'm just gonna do videos. Ridiculous, right? Ridiculous. Anyhow, so I've been trying to shut my mind off. I think I might be autistic or something, man. Like my fucking mind is constantly going. I've been in a rut though too lately, man. It's weird. So, like when I go from these jobs where I'm working 7 days a week for like 6 weeks, and then after the job, then the work abruptly ends, and then I've got like this downtime, right? So I got all this time now till the next job, which I'm not fucking. I'm just taking it easy. I'm not looking for fucking work right now. Fuck that, you know. But so now I have all this downtime, right? And then I'm out in the middle of nowhere, and there's nothing to do out here. Like this place is like basically prison. It's well, I've never been to prison, but I've been to jail, and it's like fucking. It's like being in jail, you know, or being on the streets or something, you know. I've been on the streets and I've been to jail. Being on the streets and being in jail is pretty close to the same thing, you know. It's not much better being on the street than it is being in jail. I spent a lot of time on the streets, and I spent, you know, enough time in jail. Being out here, out in the middle of nowhere, man, it's like nothing. There's nothing to do, you know. I don't do drugs. I won't do drugs, so. And that's what most people do to, you know, like if you're in an area like out in the middle of like that's what a lot of people do to deal with the boredom, is just do meth or something, you know. So you got all that kind of shit going on out here, but that's everywhere, right? It's everywhere. But you know, you just get more of a front row seat to all the insanity when you're in a little tiny ass tiny population out in the middle of nowhere. You get front row seats to the insanity. And anyways, and then during the summer, it's going to be so bad here that everybody for like a month and a half or so out of the summer, nobody even leaves their their casa. They just stay inside, huddled next to the fucking air conditioner. Nobody even goes outside for like a month here, dude. That's how crazy this place is. It's fucking crazy. So it's totally boring out here. There's nothing to do. That's another reason I do videos, I suppose. But anyways, so I just decided, fuck it, I'm just gonna watch some YouTube. And surprisingly enough, of course, there's more shit to watch on YouTube than there is on fucking BitChute. Why would I be surprised about this? Anyways, whatever. So, you know, I watched a few of these, you know, these murder cases and shit that they have on YouTube. And whenever I watch these murder, you know, these cases where some wacko fucking went psycho and fucking murdered somebody or something, it always reminds me of my last girlfriend, dude, and that whole situation that happened to me with that dead body and all that shit and the fire and everything. And so you know, you can get a lot of information from these investigations that they have on YouTube and stuff. And so sometimes I'll watch them to try to help understand and to get more clues as to what happened to me, you know, in 2022 with that murder and the fucking arson and how my ex-girlfriend was involved in all that shit. And all the main suspects, which is like totally bizarre. But because none of it, like the whole thing got swept under the rug. The murder to this day has never been solved. And the arson, like, it was swept under the, they don't want to solve it. That's why it hasn't been solved. The cops just swept the whole, like, it's obvious it was murder, and it's obvious what people were involved in the murder. And my ex-girlfriend was involved with all the main players that were involved in this guy's murder. And then the town just swept the whole thing under the rug. They do this all the time. Like, it was only like 2 or so months ago, the cops killed somebody right out on Main Street. You know, just like I could walk there in 5 minutes. The cops killed him right out on Main Street, and he was a resident of this town. No newspaper article, no, you know, and everybody in town is saying that the cop murdered the guy. His friend was there with him, and his friend is saying that the cop murdered him, but no, there's no accountability. Like, this town is really fucking weird out here, dude. This place is fucking weirdos. This is like the Twilight Zone out here. This kind of shit is always happening out here. They find dead bodies out here all the time, and usually it's not even brought up unless somebody in the community happens to be the one that finds it, and they got enough balls to start getting vocal and saying, hey, what's up with that dead body, you know? But the cops never respond. They always ignore it and wait for everybody to just forget. There's always that shit happening here, dude. Always. I don't even hear about, I only probably hear about 1/10 of all the dead bodies that they find out here, dude. And I hear about it all the time. Like, they're finding dead bodies out here all the fucking time. And anyways, and that's what made the death threat and shit so scary for me when that happened to me in 2022. The murder / arson death threat, you know, the murder / death threat / arson incident that happened to me, which I talked about earlier today, and I believe I talked about it yesterday too. And even though it was in 2022, October of 2022. So in October of 2025, that'll be the 3-year anniversary of the event, which is what my channel, the name of my channel is Storyboard. And that's what my channel initially was focusing on, is trying to storyboard what happened to me. But I've taken quite a long break from that and just decided to do videos on what the fuck ever, you know, in the last couple months. Well, partially also because of my job. Well, once work started in December, that's it. You know, I can't be focusing on a fucking storyboard when I'm working 6 and 7 days a week from December to April. December, January, February, March, 5 months straight, like 6 and 7 days a week for 5 months straight. I got no time to storyboard anything. So now after, what did I say? December, January, February, March, and like half of April. So that's 4.5. After 4.5 months of nonstop work, now there's no work, and I'm here out in the middle of nowhere with no one and nothing to do, which has its advantages and disadvantages. I mean, you know, but I have been isolating too much, dude. I gotta go meet up with some people tomorrow, because I'm isolating way too much. And then when I'm isolating, so today I'm starting to think about the event that happened to me in 2022, and I'm watching these murder investigation videos on YouTube, and it does give you insight. Like, there's so many similarities between these murder investigation things on YouTube and the shit that happened to me in 2022. And so today I binge watched like 3 of them. And then I started realizing, like, see, I want to tell you something about this event. No matter how much compelling evidence there is that my ex-girlfriend was involved in that murder, it could be though that she is the victim and not the crime. you know, because my ex-girlfriend was like, was, you know, she showed signs of like autism and stuff. Like she could very well just be a really vulnerable person, and that because she's so vulnerable, that and you know, that she just got mixed in with the wrong people and they just manipulated her. And then the guilt of all that just ate her up. And so that's why she just like dumped me without any reason or anything, you know. But she knew that I had had enough. She knew I was getting ready to dump her, but I wouldn't dump her. I would just tactfully navigate myself out of the web that I was in with her, and then allow her to come to her own decision. Like, she's the one that needs to figure this shit out, not me. Like, generally, you know. And so she was a lot more emotionally immature than I am. Believe it or not, right? So, but it could very well be that she just, you know, that she's a victim. And then I started getting like kind of bummed out when I'm thinking about it, you know, because there's never been any closure with what happened between me and her. Like, she just, like, as soon as it came out about the murder investigation and I got the death threat and stuff, like, she just stopped talking to me, which made her look even guiltier that she is involved in that murder. It's a very long story. This is why I'm storyboarding it. It's like totally insane, you know. It involves romance and love and murder and fucking arson and death threats and witches and witchcraft and spell casting and all this crazy shit. Like, it's so wacky, dude. And psychopathy and fucking narcissism and all this shit. Like, it's like super fucking crazy. But there was never any, you know, that's why none of it made any sense. Like, everything that she did made no sense. And there's only two conclusions that it could be, is that she's guilty of some really fucking hardcore fucked up shit, or she just got sucked into these people and they manipulated her, and she got so guilt ridden and shameful about it that's why she just stopped communicating with me, because she felt so much shame and guilt around, you know, all this stuff that she got manipulated into by these satanic people, that she just couldn't even tell me. She couldn't tell me, she couldn't talk to me. So that guilt and shame is just carried with her since all that happened. Whereas, like, if it's true that she was manipulated and all this, and she told me, and she just told me, like, look, I got mixed in with these people, and fucking this terrible stuff happened, and I feel really guilty and ashamed, and she were just honest with me, like, I would totally be on her side. I'd be like, dude, I fucking got your back. We'll figure this out together, you know. And if she is the victim of all that, I guarantee you she would be too overwhelmed to even confide in me. No matter how much, you know, you know, how true I was to her and would be to her if she confided in me, if that was what happened and she confided that in me. It doesn't matter, like, how true I would be to her. She couldn't admit it. It was too much guilt and shame. And this is what's really sad, right? So I started getting kind of bummed out because I don't like to think about that aspect of it because, motherfucker, dude, I'm getting shocked by my thing, and I think I need to ground my trailer. Anyways, and it's really sad to think about that. Like, I don't know if you've ever met people in your lifetime where they're so vulnerable that they can just easily get manipulated by, like evil people, like a witch cult or satanic people, and just get socially pressured into something and get sucked into it because they're just that debilitated. They're so vulnerable that it debilitates them to that degree. And she always carried herself that way, that she's just that vulnerable. And after 3 years of being with her, I thought that eventually she would start to grow out of it. I thought it was just kind of a phase that she would grow out of because, by being with me and being around positive people, because I don't hang out with drug addicts and alcoholics and people like that of that nature at all. All the people that I hang out with are totally about, being decent people. They're very principled people. And so I figured by being around me and my friends that eventually she would start to come out of that shell, and she would, and she did a little bit. She did. It was noticeably enough that she did. That's why I thought she was going to continue. But she just, after a certain amount of growth period, she just kind of got stuck. And then I became like bewildered. I'm like, I don't understand. Like, like what? And after 3 years, it's like, dude, it's like I'm taking care of this person. And I feel really terrible because if she would just, I don't know, like, I look back as like, could there have been some way to figure this out? Because she never could like communicate, and I was never really sure, like, is it because she's hiding something? Is it because she's hiding some guilt and shame? Or is it because she's hiding something that she's like what? I don't know. But I always gave her the benefit of the doubt that it's probably not that she's hiding that she's an evil cunt. It's probably like maybe she got, maybe she was abused by her parents when she was a child. But like, if she would have ever just opened up to me, dude, like, I'm a true person, in that sense, where like I would have totally continued to protect her and everything, but I never knew she would never open up. She always kept herself like bundled up in this fucking cage, and that you couldn't penetrate it. Like, the walls with it she kept up were so fucking thick, that they were impenetrable. And so she was always hiding something, and she'd been doing it for so long in her life that she was really good at it. And being with somebody for 3 years, like, after a while, it's so fucking draining, dude, where it's like, why can't you talk to me? Like, what is going on? Why can't you talk to me about what's going on, And it's always like, well, nothing's going on, It's like, dude, okay, all right, whatever. You know what I mean? It's bizarre. But like, if there really was a bunch, dude, like, there was so much going on with that chick. And like I said, I just felt like eventually she would, her shell would start to crack so that the light could come. So I just kind of waited patiently. I was in love with her. I don't know if it was her or if it was a perception of her that I was in love with. I don't know. And partially the reason is because the walls were so many walls with her. Like, who are you? Sometimes I was like, who the fuck are you, dude? You know? I never said that to her, but I'm sure I would come across that way sometimes, where it's like, what the fuck, you know? And I'm also a very just transparent person. I am a transparent person, and that can come across as harsh or whatever, depending on who you are, you know. Someone who's more thick-skinned like me, it ain't nothing. If you know what I'm saying, like someone who's kind of thick-skinned, they're not fazed by my transparency, like because they know where I'm coming from. But somebody who's like really frail and sensitive and stuff, they could see my transparency as like I'm attacking them and shit. And it's like, come on, right? Come on, man. It's me, dude. It's the fucking angry hobo. I don't know what you're tripping on, dude. Chill out, bro. I'm just being me, man. I'm not fucking attacking you, dude. I'm just an angry fucking hobo, man. Like, you know, like fucking like Diogenes. Like Diogenes. He was just an angry fucking hobo. You know? And I mean, I'm not even angry, but it's just like, dude, when you've lived on the street for 10 years, you've grown up in fucking poverty all your life, ate out of dumpsters for 10 years, in and out of jail, all this shit. When you live a life like that, you just naturally become thick-skinned. I mean, there's just always going to naturally be kind of like a rough edge to you, where you're just kind of like, yeah, man, that's me. I can't be anybody else but me. And so she's with me, I'm with her, I'm me, you know. And like this frail persona that she always carried, combined with just the constant walls where there was never any communication. Like I'm saying, I'm totally transparent, and she's just got walls everywhere where it's like, I can't even figure out, I can't read your fucking mind, you know. So anyway, if she really is generally innocent in that whole murder investigation with the death threats and arson, and she was a victim of these people, then I still love her, dude. Like, you know, because that's who I understood her to be up until the event happened. Then it's like, okay, who in the fuck are you? And then I found the bondage straps under the bed, though, and the leather whip and shit like that, too. And it's like... So, anyways, that's another reason why I storyboard it, is like trying to figure out, is this some psycho bitch? But then when just me mentioning the bondage straps and leather whip I found under the bed, when all that was going on with the murder investigation and the fucking death threats and stuff, like... That's just like the cherry on the top, where it's like, dude, this bitch is a fucking Luciferian, satanic, you know, like it's unbelievable, you know. The shit that I went through is totally, you wouldn't believe it, man. Telling you, you could make a blockbuster movie out of what happened to me. If I could get the script and get it to somebody who could make a movie, it would be a blockbuster. You know what I mean? I got the script. I got the story. All the story needs is a good storyteller to tell it, and it'll be a blockbuster. Hands fucking down. You get the right storyteller to fucking, you know, produce it, it'd blow your mind, dude. And it would just be the story itself. It doesn't have to be embellished or enhanced or anything. Just the story itself, told correctly, blow your mind. I don't even know where to begin with the storyboard, you know. Anyhow, and so you know, I don't know, but whatever it is, say she is innocent, like it's totally over. She is gone. You know what I mean? If it was just all this big misunderstanding of circumstance, and that she left out of guilt and shame, and that's why she left, it's over now. You know, it's weird too, because I during the 3 years me and her were together, I may have told her I loved her only once or twice or something, maybe 3 times or whatever during the 3 years. But that's because talk is cheap. Now maybe I was wrong. Maybe I'm wrong, but I wanted to make sure that we do love each other before we say it. And she was love bombing me from the very beginning, and I had to sit her down and say, "Look, you just went through a bunch of trauma and stuff, and I know, I'm not saying you don't love me, but I'm just saying, like, dude, we don't want to rush this. If we want to have a healthy relationship, we don't want to rush this I love you and all this shit. Just let it happen naturally. You've been through a bunch of trauma." I had to really talk her down because she was love bombing me like crazy. And so that's another reason why I was always very careful when I did say I love you, because first of all, I want to know that I'm sincere when I say it. I'm not just going to say it. Those are powerful words, And but I did love her, but I just rarely, if ever, said it. And she didn't like that. She kind of confronted me a little bit, asking me why I don't say that. And it's like, dude, how do I not show it in my actions? Because I did, dude. Like I did so much. I really did a lot in our mine and her relationship. And she knew that I showed that I loved her. And so she really couldn't argue that when I said, "Well, dude, talk is cheap. That's action. Love is an action word. Doesn't it seem like based off of my actions that I love you, why do we have to, And so, but every once in a while I would appease her. But still, a relationship and love builds over time, and I don't want to rush it. I wanted me and her to have a healthy relationship. And so I was just doing the best I could. Maybe I should have said I love you more, I don't know. I just felt like I was showing it in everything that I was doing, dude. Maybe I was wrong, I don't know. But anyways, if she is generally innocent in that whole event, then she really is a decent person. And it's a shame. It's a shame because we really, that's another thing that was so mind-blowing. In a general way, we really had a pretty good relationship. We really did. And any problems that we had were things that could be worked out. Is like stuff that's like just normal problems that people in healthy relationships have. Were the only like real problems that we had. That's why it was so crazy when the event happened. It's like, what in the fuck is this? What the fuck is going on, right? And when I confronted her, she like couldn't talk. She was like totally filled with shame. When the whole fucking thing came to a fucking head, and fucking the first conversation we had when the fucking proverbial bomb went off, I'm like, dude, can we fucking talk? You cut me off like 3 weeks ago in the middle of an insane job. And fucking, I have no fucking idea what's going on. Can we fucking talk now? Like I have no idea what in the fuck's going on. And when in that conversation, you could see the shame and guilt all over her face. And I'm like, why can't you just talk to me? That's what I was saying. I was like, why can't you just tell me what's going on? I'm totally fucking in the dark here. And she's just totally fucking guilt and shame all of. And then that's when I looked at her and I said, "Is it another guy? Is that what it is?" And when I asked her that, the look on her face was like she saw a fucking ghost. She went totally white. And it was so fucking obvious that I couldn't help but started laughing like I am now. I just started laughing. I wasn't all upset like, oh my God, how could you? I just started laughing. I was like, are you fucking serious? Because it was all over her face. Like she couldn't, nothing she could do or say could hide it. And I'm like, it's another, that's what it is? It's another guy? And then she couldn't even look at me, dude. She just looked down and put her head down and started nodding like that. And I was like, you gotta be fucking kidding me. After everything me and you have been through. Like, after all this shit, dude. Like, so then I'm like, well, who is this guy? Who the fuck is it? And then she says, oh, he doesn't live here. He lives, like, hundreds of miles away in some other state. And I just started laughing again. I'm like, really? Okay, so then how the fuck did you meet him? And she tells me Facebook. And then I'm laughing again. I'm like, Facebook? So I'm like, you've never met him in person? And she's like, no. And I'm like, oh my God, dude. Okay, so you met somebody on fucking Facebook. You've never met him in real life. And see, at this point, I don't even know if she's telling me the truth or not, right? If it was somebody that was in near proximity to me, shit could have gone really bad, dude. Really bad. Bad for me, bad for her, bad for the guy, bad for everybody, dude. It could have got really fucking bad. So maybe she was lying. I don't know. But like, I guess my point is all that guilt and shame I saw all over her face. And I think that's what it was. Like, she just couldn't handle being around me with all that guilt and shame. It was eating her alive. Like, it was just totally eating her alive. Whatever it was. But the thing that's crazy is that's when it came out that she is in the middle of a murder. Her and her friends are all the main suspects in a murder investigation. And so then that's when I freaked out. Where I was like, what the fuck is this shit, right? Then it was like, oh no, this bitch is she's evil as fucking. She is evil as fuck, right? And then like within a day or two, I got the death threat. And then that just validated everything. Like, this bitch is a fucking black-hearted, evil, sadistic. I mean, I'd never seen anything so evil in all my life, dude. Then a week later, the whole fucking place burns to the ground. I'm like, dude, this bitch is a fucking Satan incarnate, man. She's like the devil's child and shit. Like, this is, you know what I mean? And so there's so much compelling circumstantial evidence that she is guilty as fucking sin, like, of real dark evil, dude. That if all of that circumstantial evidence is all just coincidence, and that she's just this generally innocent girl that just got sucked in with this evil cult, and they just manipulated her like a puppet, that would be pretty hard to believe, even if it were true. But see, my story is very hard to believe, and it is true because I fucking experienced it, right? So, you know, but like I said, dude, the whole 3 years we were together, I always saw her as just this very easily manipulated person that needs to be protected. Like, the person is that vulnerable and naive and easily manipulated that they need protection. They need to be protected. And that was the whole like years before the event took place, she always carried herself and presented herself that way. And so, which is one of the reasons I stayed with her, is because through all of this fucking just like, dude, the majority of the problems in our relationship, even though our relationship was it was like a generally healthy relationship, the source of the problems, the biggest problems were of her emotional immaturity was what was causing the bulk of the relationship problems with us. And so I was having to go the extra mile to be patient and to be, tolerant and all this. Like, I was almost overly tolerant. Arguably, I was overly tolerant. I was overly patient. Like, dude, and that's where the relationship challenges were. But like I said, like if I get with the person, if we're both true to each other, I'll stay true through the thick and thin shit. I don't care about like marriage, and that's bullshit. But that's how I am. If I get with the person and I'm serious about being with that person, I'll stick it out with them. But goddamn, they gotta make an effort, and that's what towards the end of the relationship, it was like, dude, are you even trying at all? Or is it just gotten to the point where you're dependent on me and I'm just enabling you to stay stuck? Like, snap out of it, man. You're my girl. I fucking love you. Like, what the fuck is going on? That's where the kind of relationship shit started to go. It's like, dude, I love you, but dude, like, what the fuck is this? And, and it was getting so bad where I was definitely moving out. I had already decided I'm moving out, and I was open with her about it. I was like, dude, I'm moving out. We can still be together. We don't have to live together. And I was like telling her, I think maybe you just need to live alone, and it will help you kind of figure some stuff out. Us living together is kind of becoming problematic in our relationship. And so in order to preserve the relationship, the best thing to do is I'm just going to move out. But see, I had gotten to know her well enough that by me moving out would do one of two things. It would either get her up off of her ass and start really taking our relationship more seriously, or the other thing it would do is she would just wander off without even officially breaking up with me or anything. She would just start drifting away. And then I would know the truth. Then I'd be like, okay, I know what's up. Go on, drift on, baby, drift on, But that's where it was like I needed her to do something, whether it's either start engaging in the relationship or just drift away. Like, whichever direction you go is fine, but just choose one, because this stagnant blah I can't do it anymore. So I'm moving out. And I'm still want to be in a relationship with you. We don't need to live together to be in a relationship, but I need to move out. I'm going to go move out. And so I was telling her all this. This is what it got to, right? And it wasn't a big dramatic thing. It wasn't a big dramatic thing at all. I was just talking to her like that. I was like, dude, I think it's best if I just move out, and I know we got some relationship shit, and it's all good. It's just, I think it's best if we stay in a relationship but don't live together. And then I was transparent with her and said, I think it'll help you kind of figure out, the ball is pretty much in your court. We've been stuck in this stagnant thing in our relationship for a long time, and I feel like the ball is really in your court. I don't know what's going on, and maybe if I don't live here, we live alone and still be in a relationship but not live together, and you have that space, it'll help you kind of figure stuff out, and because that's all that was it. That was the only logical next thing to do in mine and her relationship, was for me and her to not live together. And so I was transparent about it. It wasn't a big dramatic thing. It was just this is kind of where it's at, whatever. And then, a month later, I got to go do an out-of-town job in Denver, Colorado. And then that's when the fucking proverbial bomb went off, dude. And it was fire, brimstone, death threats, satanic death cults, witchcraft, witch spells, murder, and I get back from that job and I'm like, what the fuck is going on, dude? Like, what the fuck? Why, can you tell me what the fuck is going on? And then she clammed up. She wouldn't say nothing. She pled the fifth all the way through the whole fucking thing. And I haven't gotten any closure since, like nothing. Like, that's the last I ever heard from her. Like, she just fucking, that was it. Murder investigation, death threats, bondage straps, leather whips, witchcraft spells, satanic cults, and then arson and a big fire, and that's it. And then she's just whatever, wandering around like nothing happened. It's like nothing. Are you fucking kidding me? Nothing happened? Are you fucking kidding? But I made one attempt. So the fucking, all that murder investigation, the fucking bondage straps, the leather whip, and the fucking death threat, and the fucking spell cast and all this shit, and then I left. I'm like, get me the fuck out of here. And I went to a job in Houston. This was like 5 days before the fire. All this happened in like 2 weeks, dude. So after all this insane, like there's all this murder investigation and all this talk of this murder, and she's involved in a fucking real witch cult, a self-proclaimed witch cult that she'd been hiding from me. I found fucking leather fucking BDSM bondage straps and leather whip under the bed. Like, I'm getting a death threat. Like, I am totally melting down. I'm like, what the fuck is going on? And the cops are getting involved, and the cops tell me I need to go do that job, because I need to stay away from this girl. And I'm like, fine. So I go do the job. That's like a week into it. I'm like, gone. And then I'm on the job in Houston, and I am having a total fucking meltdown all through this job. And these jobs are fucking insane. Most people will walk off of these jobs. That's how fucking crazy these jobs are. Most people wouldn't last a week. Wouldn't last a week in these jobs that I'm doing. They would walk the fuck off and say, fuck you. This is what I'm talking about, the kind of work. So, in the middle of this job, like 2 or 3 days into the job, I made one final attempt to reach out to her. I called, she didn't answer, right? And so then I texted her, and I said, look, man, dude, after everything me and you have been through, like, we need to talk. And I even told her, I said, this is the only time I'm going to do this. I even told her in the text, I'm like, I'm going outside of my nature. Like, normally, I wouldn't even look back. I said, I'm making one attempt. This is the last attempt. I'm not going to do this again. And I told her, I said, I may not have fucking told you I love you. Me and you have been through so much shit. Like, we've had like a really meaningful experience together. And we've been through a lot together. And I do love you, right? And we need to talk. And I'm not going to ask again. This is the only time I'm going to reach out to you and try to get you to just talk to me, man. That's all. Like, whatever it is, we need closure. Like, So I made one attempt, and then 3 days later, the whole fucking place burnt down, dude. Luckily, I was out of town when it happened, and everybody thought I did it. And I get the call halfway through this 2-week job that the whole fucking place burnt down that me and her lived. And then that's when I was like, see, I told you guys, this is a murder death cult. I told you, this is real shit. I was sending my friends pictures. Like, do you believe me now? Because I've been telling my friends, and they're just like, I don't know, man. I'm like, bro, you know me for fucking 7 years, 12 years. Have you ever known me to make this shit up? I couldn't make this shit up if I wanted to. I'm not fucking, have you ever known me to lie or to be a madman? I'm telling you. And now here's the pictures of the fire. The whole fucking half a block is burnt down now. Now do you believe me about the death threat and the fucking murder investigation and and this satanic witch cult? Like, now do you fucking believe me yet? But anyways, yeah, and that's it. I've never talked to her. That's it. Nothing. No closure, no nothing. She just acted like nothing happened. She just acted like all this was all just one big coincidence. Nothing to see here. And I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? Nothing to see here? Can you not see? There's like what the fuck, dude? And the cops never did nothing about any of it. Nobody did anything about any of it. It was like completely ridiculous because I know if the roles were reversed and I were the one instead of her, dude, the cops would have fucking taken me straight to jail. Straight to fucking jail. Do not pass go. Do not collect $200. Straight to fucking jail immediately. But because it was her and not me, nothing to see here. This is how much power, dominant power, women have in society. And it doesn't matter. Like, I'm like known as an upstanding citizen in this community. She is known to be associated with drug dealers and fucking scumbags. I am known in this community to be like a decent person that's involved. Like, she is only known in this community ever to be hiding out, mixed in with some kind of drugs or other, etc., etc. I'm a face, or I'm a known face in this community, and yet still nothing. It's like nothing happened. But again, if the roles were reversed and it was me instead of her, if the roles were reversed, I guarantee you I would have immediately went to jail. Immediately. And I wouldn't be surprised if I'd be still sitting in jail to this day, 2.5 years later. This is how severe, like, the sexes, all this stuff with women and the sexes and gender war, and it's like so fucking bad, dude. It's that bad. But because she's just some frail little girl that can just walk around and like totally innocent with the innocent look on her face and just like whatever, nope, free to go. Free to go. Here. Oh, they gave her a free RV. This poor girl lost everything in a fire. Gave her a free RV. The whole town was like, oh, this poor girl. Whereas if it was me, they would have came after me with fucking pitchforks and fucking I'd be in jail or dead. 100 fucking percent guaranteed, dude. That's how crazy this whole women versus men thing is in the world that we exist in today. But whatever, right? Whatever. That's another reason why stories like mine are important and should get out, is to show the dynamics between a woman and a man. It is unbelievable. But whatever, right? Whatever. So anyway. Yep. This video is long enough, right?